So shall I start off by...
Yes, please do start, Rhonda. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Well, delighted first of all to join the network. I did wonder what natural meant. Was it related to naturism, or was it do we all have to tip up in certain non-uniforms of some kind? Perhaps would be the right thing, but obviously not. So. But great that you've started this initiative, Susan, and to see that it's growing, because as we all know, nothing really grows without people. Yes, of course, we can rewild where we can, but obviously a lot of the time, we all need nurturing in some way, don't we? Whether it's in terms of personal connections or improving our skills, or just in every day, making connections with people. To be honest, in the last 7 or so years, Minerva, my company, hasn't really had a lot of UK-based business. We've been in what you might call the very lucky circumstance of getting very involved with major grant funding, much of which has come from Europe. And just to explain that, because quite a lot of people still don't really understand how all of that works, the EU, i.e. all the member states, and I know we're not a member now, but we are still involved in these initiatives, is that each member country agrees to put into the pot for research funding an amount of money. And the research covers absolutely everything from space, to underwater, to sustainability, to aviation, absolutely everything. And it's a huge, huge budget, because what happens is that if you like, every country that contributes to that fund, you then can pitch for that money to come back. And the UK over the last 20 years has been highly successful in getting back between 35 and 45% more money coming back into the country, into universities, into companies, into NGOs, into all kinds of organizations to contribute to that research funding. So in a way, it's been rather like an insurance policy, in the sense that, you put money in, everybody puts that money into the pot. It's then matched, if you like, from different sources. Each country also tells the central organizing group where your main interests lie. Where would you like more funding? Is it more into bioeconomy? Is it more into aviation? Is it more into marine biology? Wherever it is. So it's a huge, huge collaborative initiative. And really for the last, 10 years, I guess, I have personally, and my company Minerva has been very involved with that. Just as a bit more background, prior to me starting Minerva 10.5 years ago, I ran an international public relations healthcare agency based in London, where we were the European hub, for international work, working with pharmaceuticals, as well as consumer goods. I mean, really, very high-powered stuff, working with the likes of Pfizer. Everybody knows who Pfizer is now because of the vaccine, but also our own homegrown companies like Shire Pharmaceuticals, which was born, I don't know if everybody knows, was born in Goodwood Clatford, in a shed down the bottom of the garden, and now is a multi company. Unfortunately, it's moved its HQ to Dublin for tax reasons, but it's still got offices in Basingstoke. So, and prior to that, to me running that company, I was very much involved in campaigns, publishing, all kinds of communication. So that's my core, communications through and through in whatever guise. And that experience through the funding that we were able to secure, where Minerva has taken on the role of leading on communications, again, in all its guises. For some of the projects, we do very practical things like building the website, building networks, creating all the content, whether it's publicity material, promotion materials, whether it's policy documents, briefings for government, and so on and so forth. They're all very different, but that's really where our skill set is in helping these big projects to set up their strategy and also then deliver the materials and the actions that are required to deliver the strategy and the impact that is required. Whether that's in terms of introducing a new innovation in a field of sustainability, or whether it's in giving greater advice to cattle farmers, which is one of our current projects, about how to actually switch sustainably to grass-fed production and to come away from intensive or grain-fed internal production. That's our core, and it's actually helping those groups and organizations to find strategies that work, find the sweet spots, find the gatekeepers, which and who you have to speak to in order to make things happen. So this is why when you look at the Minerva website, you'll see that we have a very broad range of different things that we get up to. But over the last 5-7 years in particular, a thread has been the whole area of sustainability and the field of what is called the bioeconomy. Now, the bioeconomy is a made-up word. It actually was made up by he was a very senior person in the European Commission, a German, and Germany is very much one of the core leaders in the world of pulling forward the concept and practicality of the bioeconomy. So what is it? It's basically trying to look at and develop and source bio-based solutions to take us away from fossil fuel and to ensure that we are building an economy that's based on bio-based principles rather than utilization of increasingly limited resources, which obviously in the process also emit greenhouse gas emissions and various other emissions, which are obviously doing damage to the planet. And I'm sure you've all taken in what you can, because it's an onslaught all the time, isn't it, about information, about how we are damaging the planet and what we can do about it. And a lot of the work that we have done is building up the networks of individuals who can really help make a difference in whatever sphere. And we've recently completed one particular project called Biovoices, where we were the UK partner, and we organised a range of targeted workshops around the country, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall, East Anglia, Norfolk, to bring different experts together, different stakeholders together, to look at what the challenges are, what are the challenges, and indeed indicate the solutions as to why perhaps the whole bio-based field is having difficulty in really creating cut through. And these are all issues that all of you who are involved in sustainability challenges in your daily life, whether it's at home or in your work situation or within your local authority, everybody is facing. What is the best way of helping us all to reduce, reuse, and repurpose, as well as actually introducing new fields of bio-based production and initiatives. It's not easy. It's not easy. And to be frank, a lot of the research that's been done indicates that in some areas, there will not be an appropriate bio-based solution. It's then much more about how are we going to preserve, the resources, that we need in order to ensure that we go forward in this world across the planet, without, and reducing our footprint rather than continually increasing it. And to be frank, there's a lot of role for all of us to do. In small things, if enough people do small things, then that will make a difference, as well as putting pressure on, wider authorities, like whether it's Hampshire County Council, whether it's Test Valley Borough Council, or whether it's at national level, to actually let's get started. Let's hurry up, to introduce a lot more of these initiatives that will help us all, make better decisions. you know, whether it is about something, recycling has got ever more complicated, hasn't it? And one feels a lot of the time that you don't have the support in terms of the infrastructure that's in place. But having said that, the Biovoices project has just finished. We had a funny last year because of COVID. Normally with these projects, and one of the bonuses is that you do get to go places, So in fact, this project was coordinated out of Rome, and we did have a couple of very nice meetings in Rome. They're usually very short, so you don't get to enjoy all the pleasures that you'd like to see in Rome most of the time. But that means that you do actually exchange with other individuals, other families who are based in these countries, and you do appreciate so much how they too, are struggling with some of these difficulties in terms of helping us all live more sustainably. But because of the fact that we couldn't travel last year, we as a collective decided that we were going to do something which wasn't in our work program, but to do something that would actually make a difference. So we all embarked on creating a book for children 5 to 8 years old that endeavored to help them, but with their parents, with adults, whether they were in school situation or whether at home, to actually try and understand a little bit better, these wider concepts and these wider ideas and why they're important for us all to appreciate much more. So we started that, and myself and my colleague Virginia from Minerva, we led on the English version of this. It was a lot of the copy was started in Italy, so that was a very interesting thing because, of course, the Italians describe things in rather different ways. So we're not entirely, some of the language still in our English version of the book isn't quite how we would like it. You might detect slightly Italianate phrases and things that are used in the book. But the result is a book that has just literally been delivered here. We had some delays because of the paper was held up in the Panama Canal, not the Panama, the Suez Canal, when that ship, went broadsides and blocked the whole thing. And it took ages to get the paper back to where it was supposed to be. It was all produced in Portugal. But we now have the book called What's Bioeconomy? So the aim of the book is each of the double page spreads have got a different theme. Can you see? So one is school, at the seaside. I'll find the right one.
Looks like a lovely book.
In your house. And if you can see, there are flaps.
Oh.
So the flap here, used coffee grounds can be used for, what do you think you can use coffee grounds for? Oh, you can make a face scrub. You can add it to your compost. You can do all kinds of lovely things. So when we got to the almost the end of producing all the material, we had it road tested here in the UK by a few families and children. And of course, they absolutely adored this concept, of having the tabs that they can look at, the question that was posed, and then opening the tab to see what the indicator is. But the main feedback we got from parents was, this is marvelous. I am learning so much, about how we can think about this, how I can talk about this with my children, because the other thing about the topics included here, they chime with a lot of the topics that primary age school children, particularly between the ages of 5 to 8, are actually coming across in their daily curriculum. So plastics, for example, food miles, for example, obviously plastic, plastic waste and utilization of that and how to reuse, food waste and how to deal with it at home and how best to go through it and ensure that you're not putting things into landfill that you shouldn't, and so on. So the joy of this, it's now in 10 languages.
Wow.
And produced thousands of copies, which each of the partners, because we have 10 countries represented in the project, and each of the partners has been given, well, we funded part of them, but obviously being part of the project funds, we now have a number to give away to various people. We did actually introduce this as a very short, what you might call a UK launch a little while ago before the project ended. And we do have a number of people on that list who will be getting their copies, but we do have some copies left over, that people can have if you'd like to request them. So Molly, I think you put our email up, or my email into chat. If anybody on this call, or anybody, particularly if you've got your own children, grandchildren, or neighbours, or you go to a school, we are giving a few away to our local schools. Appleshaw, Amport, Haverden, I know have already will have copies when they go back in the autumn. They are books to use by an adult with the child, because obviously younger children might take great delight in opening the flaps and tearing them off. That's not the idea. We hope that obviously this will go down very well. From the company's viewpoint, Minerva, we're looking at ways in which we can utilize the material that took so long for us to generate in different ways to make it more accessible, in terms of quizzes, lists, good practice lists and so on, and also material that other people can use who are in what you might call more educational settings. We've sent some to different scout and guide groups, for example, and they're using it for, for different badges, environment badges and things of that kind. And we have also sent quite a large number in the UK up to the Bradford Science Museum, which has a big sustainability festival coming up in November, and they're going to be using this as a prize giveaway for attendees at that. So we're very proud of this. It is a beautifully produced book. Nothing's been spared in terms of its production. If anybody would like one, we're at Base Point, which is obviously just outside the main centre of Andover. But obviously we don't have any funding now, for distribution or production. If anybody is in the vicinity and would like to pick one up from Base Point, just let us know, and we can leave one in reception, for you to pick up.
That would be wonderful. We can get a coffee from Gerald while we're
at the same time.
Lovely coffee shop up nearby.
Yeah, and yes, exactly. Yes, I have to say he's our mainstay of coffee, and of course he does very productive things with his used coffee grounds.
Yeah,
I don't think he's ever made a face scrub for himself.
I might chase him up for some of his coffee grounds. We'll do a pamper night with it.
He gives some to a couple of small holdings because they use it for soil improvement. I think rhubarb does particularly well, I understand, from used coffee grains. Interesting.
It looks like a lovely book, Rhonda.
It is. Whoever's familiar with Usborne books, Usborne books, the one of the illustrators for Usborne actually did the illustrations.
That's good. High quality.
Anyway, so this is one of the things that Minerva is very proud of. We're proud of a lot of things, but this is a very practical thing. It's always nice to have something you can hold in your hand, and show to people. And it epitomizes quite a lot of the core areas of work that we've been involved in over a long period of time. So delighted to have the opportunity to introduce it to you.
Yes, I would absolutely love to be able to give one of those to Andover Trees for their next raffle, maybe at their AGM, because that is just hitting the spot in so many ways. Yeah. It's educating the adults and the children, your local, it's a wonderful thing, beautiful.
Yeah.
So that is amazing.
And we'll continue to promote it. And we're obviously asking people who do take a copy to give us some feedback, particularly, the children, I think most of the feedback we've had from the children is they love the experiments. The experiments, which there is a section on experiments in the back and ideas through the book. but things like mixing up, coffee grounds with different oils and trying it out on your, not so much your mum, but your dad, is great fun.
That sounds fantastic. Rhonda, that was so interesting. And aren't we lucky to have a business like yours in this area, literally on the doorstep?
Well, yes, and we're lucky. Yeah, we feel lucky that we're in Andover. And I mean, as I indicated before, the UK is in the major funding programme. There's a whole new funding programme called Horizon Europe, which is just starting now. Interestingly, at the moment, the UK is not in space and not in AI, which is artificial intelligence, not insemination, because there's a quarrel going on about amounts of money or worries about us not preserving enough of intellectual property. But I think that will be resolved. But this does mean that the UK government is handing over money, but the aim then, of course, is for organisations, companies, research teams to pitch for each of those calls in order to bring much more of that money back into the UK. I don't think anybody realised how big that was, so important for science and technology. The collaborations will continue, which again is so important for research and science in this particular topic. It's no good us improving what we do on our doorstep, if the same thing isn't happening in other parts of the world.
Right. Well, that was absolutely amazing. Very interesting. You've given us an awful lot of information there. I'm trying to process it all as you were going along. But I know that your website obviously is going to have a great deal of information on it. So, and you are on our members page now, so people can easily.
Thank you very much.
So that's fantastic. Thank you, Rhonda. Is that everything that you needed to tell us?
I think so.
I
mean, just to say that from Minerva's viewpoint, we've had a bit of a funny year because of obviously all the different changes with COVID. I mean, normally I would have been traveling a fair bit at the time, but obviously that hasn't happened. Projects have continued, obviously. And one very exciting project we're involved in now is actually in Africa, in the Sahel area, which is one of the driest and most compromised parts of the world. And it's an agricultural based project, which is looking at more effective ways of combining crops and shrubs with livestock in order to improve the livelihoods of the farmers who are working in that area. Because unfortunately, it's an area of the world where there is more economic emigration going on, and some finding their way to Europe, of course. But if one can improve the prospects of livelihoods in that part of the world, so that more younger people will stay and older people don't feel they have to send the children away, then that is an important development. So from Minerva's viewpoint, to be honest, I choose projects from that perspective, that we feel that we are actually making a contribution to an area that will reap results that actually matter.
That sounds very positive indeed. Thank you so much. So if that's all right, we'll move to Molly next.
Yes.
Molly, are you going to be showing any images?
No, I don't have any images at the moment.
Okay, we were a little bit worried because it's like when we had a wonderful gamekeeper telling us about deer, and he wanted to show us some pictures where a deer had gone through a car. We were feeling a little bit nervous that you might actually show us some kind of terrible images with the
Oh no.
But okay, that's fine, because I would just say I'll stop the recording and we need to warn people so they can look away. But yeah, lovely. So please go ahead, Molly. Welcome to our meeting this morning.
Thank you, Susan. So hi, my name's Molly. I'm obviously working with Minerva Communication. Basically, I wanted to tell you a bit about this new UK based company that we're working with. It's called Save the Asian Elephants, which is a not-for-profit organisation, and their campaign is to stop the advertising and promotion of tourist destinations that rely on the pain and suffering of Asian elephants. So Minerva's supporting to stop the torture of these abused and endangered species. So we're providing classic PR and communications for them, and this has meant that we've been contacting specific media outlets and journalists, both local and national, and providing them with press releases and information, obviously with the aim to raise awareness of the exploitation of Asian elephants in the tourism industry. So the letter that has been sent out is basically a letter to the editor. It was distributed earlier this week, and it's been written by the CEO of Stay, which is Duncan McNair. And basically it's laying out the fundamental points of the campaign. And then the other press release, also released earlier this week, outlines the Stay's calls to actions to coincide with World Elephant Day, which is today. So you can view these press releases actually over on our Twitter account. We've sent them out yesterday, actually, obviously in light of World Elephant Day, so you can view them. So we've sent the press releases out to over 1,500 contacts, which has been, we've like collated, done our research and targeted the specific areas that we think is they're going to pick up on, and so statistics from that. So the letter to editor, we've had over 600 contacts view the press release, 436 people have opened it, and then the press information as well, similar statistics, so over 500 people have viewed it, and similarly 362 have opened it. We've also received news this morning that the letter of editor has been published in West Wales Chronicles, so we hope to see more coverage across the coming days, especially because of the day today. But since the beginning of the week, so since we've been actively distributing this external information and sending out the press releases, we've seen an increase. So Stay have a petition out at the moment, and we've seen an increase of over 1,000 signatures. So the petition's now at a staggering, I think, 1,006,066,000, and so it's pretty high. So this
impressive.
It's obviously a positive indication that what we're doing for Stay is having a positive effect on the campaign and on the cause. So obviously, as I've mentioned throughout, it's World Elephant Day today, and we'll be showing our support by actively raising awareness for Stay's campaign on our social media channels, and obviously continuing to spread the word to as many people as possible. Rhonda's also written a lovely blog piece that's up on our website about the Asian elephants and how they're mega gardeners of the world, of the forests, basically. And we've got a news piece that's recently gone up on our website, so it's all up to date. So we're following World Elephant Day today, and Stay is also putting out, they're doing a Twitter storm tomorrow, which means that they're just bombarding people with loads of useful information on how to support and raise awareness of Stay as well.
Can I just add that from a strategic viewpoint, why are they doing this now? Well, it's because a new law is going to be introduced in the autumn called the Animals Abroad Bill. And this bill will make it illegal for UK-based companies, that's travel agents, market package holiday marketeers, like big names like Virgin, all of them, make it illegal for them to actually promote and advertise any of these attractions that use abused and degraded elephants. And just again, from what you said, Susan, just a word of warning that if you do look at the Stay website, you will see very, very upsetting images. I mean, baby elephants, and we do mean babies, baby elephants, calf elephants under the age of 1 are stolen from the wild, and their adult protectors are usually killed in the process. And then those babies are subjected, and you can only use the word torture, subjected to torture to break their spirit, in order to make them submissive enough to be used around human encounters. And many people go to these places and really, maybe they don't see, they don't know, maybe they're not aware of the absolute horror of the background that makes these elephants able for you to have that memorable selfie or that memorable activity. It really is horrendous. Many people, I think, are aware of not riding on elephants. That campaign has been around for a while, but to be honest, riding on them is just the tip of the iceberg. And there are still, and the reason a law is needed, the absolute reason a law is needed, Stay's been working on this for a number of years. The absolute need for law is because ABTA have very, very weak guidelines around this. Different companies promise to not advertise and promote these, and they stop for a while, but then they restart them. So the law is needed to enforce this, and also to put in place severe enough penalties to make it hurt. £1,000 fine won't do it. For a repeat offender, to have the prospect of a 6-month prison sentence probably will do it. So this is the reason why the law is needed. And the way the law is being drafted is that it has the potential to be adopted by other countries.
That's good.
Yes, exactly, because of course we can do what we can here in our own backyard, but what's important is that it's replicated elsewhere, and that we really put these places out of business. I mean, again, there's slight complication because of COVID. Some of these have gone out of business, but unfortunately there's been even worse dire consequences for the elephants because they've just been abandoned. So it's bad news all round for Asian elephants. Their numbers have crashed, absolutely crashed because of this. And it's in relationship to the number of holiday packages, that are taken up by tourists. Their numbers have gone down as the package holiday numbers have gone up. And more of these attractions have seen that people like to have these close encounters, which are completely unnatural and completely abhorrent, absolutely abhorrent. Anyway, obviously up to you to do what, but there is this call to action: sign the petition,
yes.
Write to your MP if you feel like doing that, and really keep an eye out for when the law comes into the public domain, which should be early in the new session of Parliament.
That is progress in the right way, isn't it? I mean, when I was a child, I went to Longleat and, I got to hold a lion cub. And, I've still got the photograph somewhere. And I thought it was the most wonderful thing. And then later on, I realised that actually, maybe that hadn't been a very good thing to particularly do. No. But at least progress is being made in your business. Obviously, you do things that make a big difference in the right way.
That's our aim. That's our aim.
So, again, to me, that is the kind of quality we want, in NBN, to be able to have people that know about these things and know the impact and what can be done. It's amazing. I did speak, we've got a lovely lady that is involved in travel as one of our members, and she did say their company have got some kind of policy in place. So it'd be very interesting to explore that, because obviously all of us are wanting to escape on holiday when we can. Some have been lucky enough to do so already, but thank you so much, and thank you, Molly, very much.
Thank you, Molly,
bringing this to our attention.
That's okay.
It's a very depressing thing, obviously, about the elephants in many ways, but at least we know something is going the right way. So that is brilliant. Anything else? Is there any questions that anybody would like to ask? Please take yourself off mute if there's anything you'd like to ask Rhonda or Molly. think you've given us so much information, and maybe
Yes. Stunned
maybe
everybody
maybe
into
to ask
silence.
now, but
Yeah, sorry, how much are the books, Rhonda?
These are free. If we have to send them, we would ask for people to cover the postage, but they're free.
pop up
Yeah,
to
we
Facebook and get one.
Yeah, I might actually, because I keep doing my little hobbled walk into town. So on my way past Base Point, I might actually have to do that.
Yeah, do.
I'm going to rip up the sections about the experiments though, because that's got my little boy written all over it.
Just watch out for the vegetable juice and the printing. All over
Okay.
clothes.
Never mind, I'll just donate to the neighbour's boy next door. That's fine.
I'll give you a lift up there, Ash, if you need to get a book.
Only around the corner.
It is, isn't it? Okay, lovely. Well, that was absolutely brilliant. Very serious stuff, but I think, you know, hopefully we're all going the right way to getting these things in place for our businesses. And I hope, Rhonda, that you will help our members to keep going the right way, or bring anything to our attention that we should be giving attention to.
It's in the area of the whole bioeconomy, and that, you know, sometimes, you know, there might not be a right answer.
Yes,
at a particular point in time, but it's about the journey, isn't it? You know, about and asking the questions of yourself and making an informed decision.
Yeah, and I was very impressed when I went to your event workshop that you did at Lapstoke Farm. And that was the first time, you know, I got to meet you and hear about what you do, and it just is just such a relief to know that there's experts in that about. And I thought it was very honest, because you were very honest about your own journey as your own company and the improvements you've made, like using the elephant poo paper.
Yes, exactly.
And you know, switching off obviously all your devices and sort of really thinking how you could do things yourselves on a day-to-day business, and that you're on the journey with everybody else.
Yes, exactly.
And obviously you're ahead of us, but you know, I think it works both ways, doesn't it? You know, sometimes there's something that someone can share that will make all the difference. So that is brilliant. Thank you. So
thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. And look forward to being.
And we hope, you know, we'll get updates.
Yeah,
but what we'll do now, we'll do our usual thing of the members that are here, the people that are here can actually introduce themselves. So I'd like to invite Chris to go first, please, today. Off you go, Chris.
Okay. Quick update. I've got my vaccine next week, so I won't be here next week.
Oh, bless you.
So yes, I got my first vaccine. Yes. So at 11:20 on Thursday, I shall be going down to Southampton.
Cool. And on that delightful news, I will stop recording at this point. That was brilliant.